Oh, this is true. I'll allow it. I'll take it.
But hey, everybody, and welcome back to Episode Club. We're going to talk about Harlots Season 2, Episode 7 and 8, the Season 2 finale episodes. And boy, oh boy, were these some interesting ones. We got big deaths, we got some and changes for Season 2, as well as some revelations have come unfolded. But we are back with, I guess, as Johnny would say, the Harlots are back together. So, for a ladies' night edition of Episode Club. So, Erin or Kaci, whoever wants to introduce yourself, go ahead.
Hey guys, you know me. I'm Erin. I'm here every week being a harlot, you know. But it's nice to see you girls. I bet you all had a good week. That's all.
That's okay.
Kaci?
Thanks for having me. Always fun. Excited to talk about these.
Oh.
Yeah, these two episodes are man, they're some interesting ones. We get basically the whole setup for the season finale, and we get a lot of the Marquess of Blaine and Lady Isabella Fitzwilliam's storyline, which, if we want, we can start there, or we get a lot about the whole surroundings of what happens to Margaret's character. Where do we want to kind of start? Because I have some questions, but where do we want to pick up for this week?
Probably I guess with Margaret, because she's kind of got a lot going on. I mean, we left her last week. She was in jail, and she's in there, and thankfully they're pretty nice. They just let everybody just come hang out with her, all of her friends and family, which is pretty cool. But she's kind of under the impression that she can kind of she was sending everyone out to try and find Lucy and get her girls to her, and Nancy goes to get Lucy and they won't answer the door there, and then I think Charlotte goes over to try and get Lucy too, and that's pretty messed up scene. It's basically they've drugged her. But yeah, so she's she's getting ready to die, or kind of hoping that her family can scramble together and come up with something to save her. So that's what everybody's been kind of doing. That's how it kind of starts out.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, before we get too far in, we forgot to say hello to the people in the chat. So we have House of the Conqueror, known as Johnny B. Crazy, is in the chat with us.
Ultimate lurker.
I know, right? Giving out lemons and talking about all these crazy things. And we also got Miss Duncan the Tall, also known as Cece, is joining with us, as well as Peter Griffin. So Peter Griffin, I know you're not on Facebook because Mark Zuckerberg doesn't believe your actual name is Peter Griffin. So as well
someday we'll know who you truly are. Always gets the secrets out.
I know exactly right. And then we also have House Lorebridge. I don't know who she is, but she's in the chat. As well as some person, I don't know, that they'll show up eventually. But they're also known as Braavosi Broadcast. Sometimes they come out as fake Aria. You never know. They just either one or the other will show up eventually. The whole Margaret storyline is quite because it kind of takes a big chunk of this episode, and you see that it's basically the last stance that this mother is taking for her children. She fell on the metaphorical and you could almost say, even though it's not physical sword, but for Lucy, because Lord Fallon was going to go and say that it was and then divulge that secret. So it's playing the two almost. And this is this show, and you would think and this time period, so usually the men always win out. So my big question is, money and power, it's always nice to have, but at the cost that Margaret makes, that she thinks she's going to sink Lord Fallon, obviously that doesn't work. So were you not surprised? Were you surprised that, of course, Fallon was going to get away with this, but Margaret was ultimately going to have to die, and like white male privilege was going to ultimately win out with this? Or did you think this could be an episode where he actually bites it?
Well, you almost wonder at the beginning, because they go and get Fallon and he actually ends up getting arrested and going down to jail. So you're almost like, okay, cool, like this might work out for them. But as we've seen time and time again, even with Lydia kind of throwing a wrench and stuff, that the Harlots don't necessarily have the law or justice on their side. Thankfully, the new Justice Hunt, he's kind of, a good dude, and he sees what Margaret's doing for her children, but she's also only so powerful, especially when Lydia's got her grasp on the Chief Justice. So I don't know, it's kind of a tough situation where you really want that, that it's like it's like right versus wrong, like Margaret's sacrificing herself. And I love what what Justice Hunt says to Fallon when he's bringing him in. He's like, Mrs. Wells has thrown herself on a bonfire in the hopes of dragging a demon down with her. And I was just like, yeah, like, because she sacrificed herself for her daughter. And so yeah, it's a rough situation.
I thought Fallon was going to go down a little bit. I mean, I figured he might get away with it and everything. I just didn't. I thought it would be a little bit more of a narrow escape for him than it was. I was pretty pissed.
Yeah. And there's now conversation in the chat started by Cece, but also before I say that, hi Amanda, the Fearless Mermaid's also with us in the
Hi,
chat.
Amanda.
Cece said, "Is it crazy? I was kind of secretly horny for Fallon, just a little bit." And then Johnny says, "Nah, I'm pretty horny for Fallon too." Johnny.
Fallon's kind of sexy. I mean, something about that pale, skinny, slightly balding man.
In a serial killer sort of way, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes people they
their own, right?
Yeah.
Then Johnny says, "Is it really a problem? Some people like to get axe murdered. Maybe some people."
Oh, is that your kink, Johnny?
Axe murdered.
Yeah. Johnny
play, yeah. Fallon. Oh man, yeah. Like I thought that actor was in some other TV show. I can't remember what it was. I thought he was in some other show, but it was not. It was like an actor that looks very similar to him. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, Fallon, he just gets away with it. But that he got away with it quite easily a couple times with this. With the first Chief Justice, and then Amelia, and then all these other times. So it's like, it's not surprising that he gets away with it until he obviously gets away next episode. But yeah, Margaret also, she's in this part of these episodes, she's also saying goodbye to all the kids. And I think it's that I'm looking at my notes. That also at the same time that it's Quigley that basically puts the final nail in the coffin, effectively, for Margaret Wells, because she goes to the Lord Chief Justice and is basically like, no, just kill this woman. Like, come on.
That was actually a really interesting scene too, because you can see, dude, Lydia is so freaking skilled. Like, she has been doing this for so long. She went in there, worked that Chief Justice. She knew exactly what to say to him. Like, because she went in there and he was pretty much just like, listen, you and your big whore mouth are like gonna get me in trouble. So, like, you know, and she just basically like handled that. She was like, well, you know, she put on her like, are you a man? Are you going to handle this like a man? I thought you were the, you know, Lord Chief Justice kind of thing. And she just basically was like, this is how you handle this like a real man, and put the big boy pants on or whatever. But she manipulated it to get what she wanted. But
yeah,
she did it though.
She definitely tried to pull a line card on him.
It's like, what did she say? She's like, you're the Lord Chief. It was like, the next hanging day is in 2 days. And she's like, you're the Lord Chief Justice. Any day is a hanging day if you declare it so. And it's like, whoa.
Well, and also like a man, you know, any man that's sort like that line right there is like any, you know, if you're trying to get a powerful man to like really feel his power or whatever, like be like, oh, really? Is that, you know, she said the perfect thing to get him to do what she wanted. It was disgusting and perfect.
Plus, you know, he likes the riper fruit.
Indeed.
So, yeah, it's one of
she's perfected the art of shaming and seducing at the same time. It's a pretty potent combo, apparently.
it works.
It's a fine line to dance on.
and
right.
And it works, and you're just almost like face bomb, but also at the same time, it's like, hey, if you're that old, you want to have that amount of power. Come on, sometimes.
I mean, she's good.
Yeah, just
worked her whole life to get to that point. I guess, you know, she's at a good pinnacle of power with that guy between her legs. So.
Yeah, especially because, you know, ride the horse or whatever that she said a couple episodes ago.
God, that whole race horse scene, that was God.
Like, oh, God dang it. But there's also the idea that when Quigley was just like, yep, sign the warrant and all of that. But going back to Margaret again, like, she's talking to not Lucy. They're trying to find Lucy, but in that time, she's spending a lot of time with Nancy. And because they're best friends and they have like all of these conversations about life and what's happened, and wanting Nancy to help take care of the kids and look out for Charlotte, and from Lucy and for Mr. North to look out for Jacob and give the girl certain things. And it's just Mr. North is like it's not in this episode. I'm near the end of this episode, but it's just like, like, it's like, I want him to know you're loved and all of this stuff. You're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that whole like all that between Nancy and Margaret and between Mr. North and Margaret. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know about you girls, but I was crying my eyes out. And I cried last time too. It's just like, it's super sad, you know. That's her family, and Nancy is like her best friend, you know. And Nancy like later admits that she loved her, but I mean, they're best friends, and I mean, they're really lucky because most people in that position where they're about to die, you know, get killed in a legal system, they're not spending their last moments with their loved ones. So, you know, it's really endearing. It was really sad. And yeah, the scene with Mr. North was really sad, with him saying, yeah, I want him to know your face and your laugh and all this. I was like, stop it.
And because we presume that Jacob's like 11, like, he's not that old, so yeah,
right.
But, like,
God, that poor baby mommy heartstrings hurt.
Yeah, I was like, that's what was, I think, one of my questions. Like, obviously, because I'm not a mother, but I can kind of relate in some aspects of that. But like, coming from a parent perspective, it was like, if it's the one way where it's like the mom and like know your love and all that stuff, you're just like, God damn it. And it was well acted too by the actor who plays Mr. North. I can't remember his name, but
It
Mr. North
was well acted by
Mhm.
Margaret too,
Mhm.
because she was trying to be tough. I don't know. I can relate way too much to Margaret.
Those two actors have really good on-screen chemistry. Their scenes will always work so well.
They really do. They're believable, and they're like loving, and there's even with their kind of unique relationship for that time period, it's just it's so believable that they're just genuine and like this very functional family despite their profession and their environment.
Yeah. And even Mr. North says it's like they like, because look, she's like, look out for the girls or whatever, and he's like, the girls became mine at the same time that you did, and like all of that stuff, and that also pulls on your heartstrings too, almost, because it's just like, God dang it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Mr. North was a G in this episode too, because he goes and fetches Lady Isabella's daughter from the school, and Lydia Quigley, she just assumes that it's the one guy from like 2 episodes ago that was the one that went to take her, and it's like, come on.
Her line in that, I'm sorry, I died. I can't. I don't even think it's appropriate to repeat, but goddamn, she pulled that off so good. She's so crazy. I fucking love her.
She's like, yeah, it's like, if you haven't watched that episode, just go back and just, because it's bad, but it's like one of those things where like, oh my god. Well, that's the thinking that would happen, but yeah.
She's a good actress because she can just bust that line out, and we're sitting here like, oh my god, like it's so bad that it's good, She's that woman. She's an incredible actress. You guys will see more too after we saw the end of, how
her storyline wraps up.
Yeah, next season, dude. That's why I told you you're gonna start liking Lydia. She goes through some shit.
But yeah, she's the whole storyline's just like, oh god. Let's see. Yeah, they got the whole thing, and basically Quigley's also just, weaving her way through. She still has the information that she's holding over Lady Isabella, and that obviously the Marquess seeks out what the story is about her sister and his sister and all of this stuff, and you're just sitting there like, wait, what? But they also go to Bedlam, which is basically a form of insane asylum, and she's like, I'll put you here if you don't stay in line. And it's almost one of those things where you're like, that's scary. I wouldn't want to go there.
Yeah, that's a pretty real threat.
It is for that time period, and then like the way he takes it, he's such a creep, he's so good at just being like a creep, and like really just you believe that he's like an awful enough human being that he's sat down there and like watched those poor women and just kind of mocked them, and then he brings his sister in there and just threatens her with that, and it's like, you're a sick individual if you like think you would do that to your sister who you've already victimized. Like, I don't know.
I was gonna say he's done worse to her already.
Yeah,
but that's just the cherry on top.
Yeah.
But
that's like the catalyst right there for her. She's like, because he takes her in there and he's like, you need to tell me what Quigley is holding over you. What's your secret? And she said that she had a female lover. That was what she tried to lie about. He's like, well, I don't believe you, kind of thing. But then he went straight to Quigley and asked her, and she told him. So bad news.
Yeah. I don't want Quigley holding my secrets like this.
No, of all people. I think I'd trust Emily before I'd trust her.
Exactly.
Emily.
Or even Anne, you're like, nope. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Anne's loyal, dude. She's loyal to the bone. Well, she's loyal to the bone.
Yeah.
We saw that one this episode. guineas.
It's like, all right, but yeah, you know that's gonna end up horribly for like at least one person.
Oh, yep. But all right. We'll
But-
get into that one.
Mhm. Yeah, and we also see that the daughter. Well, once they have the daughter, that the daughter is brought to Greek Street, and obviously Lady Isabella meets her daughter for the first time, and then there's this whole like emotional moment. Because she's like never actually seen her, because we get through the dialogue that she's only been written to once before, so by Lady Isabella, obviously, because she doesn't want to know where her daughter is in case her brother ultimately finds out, because there's no sticking this post in the mail and then running away. It's like someone has to give it to somebody, they drive it there, they drop it off, like it's the whole thing.
It's more personal.
Yeah. And it was nice to see like their first interaction, and they casted the daughter very well, because she looks like Liv Tyler, but then she also looks like the actor that played the Marquess of Blaine, which is Julian Ridtut, I believe is how you pronounce his name, which is pretty cool that they casted that character very well.
I noticed that too. The hair, her hair and his hair, like the exact same, but her face, she looks a lot like Liv Tyler. So they did a really good job of casting her. That it's uncomfortable, that scene where he gets her and she's in the house and he's like really like kind of touchy-feely on her, and you're just like trying to imagine, like at this point he only thinks she's his niece. He doesn't realize that that's his daughter yet, and so it's just like this creepy, like you're in your mind just like cringing, like, oh, is he gonna get all rapey on her because that's his daughter? And yeah, I don't know, the whole thing is just really uncomfortable.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he doesn't seem to have any scruples about who he gets physical with.
Mm-hmm. And a virgin is all the more enticing, all the more irresistible, basically, for him.
Yeah, he has his virgin thing. Then he raped his sister, and he's getting touchy-feely with his quote-unquote niece. Mm-hmm. I think we can add pedophile to the list pretty safely.
Oh,
yeah. Well, we kind of get the list of the pedophiles in the next episode that come out of Fallon's mouth. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like this whole thing of like, this is my niece and like who's her father and all of this stuff. It's like, did she ever tell you who your father was? Like that whole storyline. It's creepy, but we gotta have creepy people in the show, or else it would just be like, it'd be still fun. It would just be like, oh, like
it's gonna be a creep factor that's enough to match the fact that this is a show about horrors. So
you gotta kind of have both.
I mean, yeah, they got to kind of balance it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like creepy men.
They got to make the women the undisputed good guys.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Hey, I don't think they're ever bad guys anyway.
Which was another great thing. Also, that scene with Liv Tyler and the Marquess, where he's like, she's telling him that about Fallon, and he's like, well, has he been arrested? And she's like, no, it's worse. The women have him. I was like, yes, you don't want the women to get you, man.
Yeah, he's strung up in a house somewhere. Yeah,
they'll freaking tar you and put you in an oak tree to die. They'll flay you and tar you,
whip you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure Nancy could pull out something more than her birch sticks for this one.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, another question that I had before we really jump into the meat of like the last episode, which is so good. I think it's one of the best episodes that we've had. They're all really good, but episode 8 is really well done. Was Justice Hunt making the right decision to let Margaret Wells go free? Because basically near the end of the episode, they have it set where Justice Hunt has to hang Margaret Wells. It's a private hanging, which is unlike most traditional, I don't know, hangings where usually the person is in front of the public. But he obviously saves her life because he cuts her down afterwards and tells her to go free because she'll be shipped off to America. So was that the right decision? Well, we know because she's, I think, the title actor, like the first bill on the actors. So do you kill off the main character? Do you pull a Game of Thrones? God damn it. No, I'm joking.
Don't kill Margaret.
For this show, I don't know that you can. I mean, she's the main. She's kind of the character that all the other characters are focused around. I mean, like with Game of Thrones, some of these characters don't meet until almost the end of the whole series. But everyone knows Margaret, so I don't know that they could really do that. I don't know. What do you think, Erin?
I don't know. They did a interesting job, I feel, of transitioning Charlotte to sort of like when Margaret was getting ready, she's giving all of her stuff to Mr. North, and she's like, here's my necklace for Lucy, here's my scarf for Jacob, and she said that Charlotte's her heir. So they did kind of set up, and I think that Charlotte did a pretty good job of like kind of filling those shoes immediately of her kind of becoming the head honcho. So it's set up well. I'm not giving away any spoilers, so I won't say anything else.
Well, yeah, because we're labeling this as spoiler free, even though we talk about the entire episode.
I'm just meaning I'm not going to divulge into season 3.
No, you're just joking. I could put
That's
explain
where the spoilers end.
Exactly.
We could put explained in the title, but then that's why do that.
It is pretty crazy though, because I mean, yeah, I think how in the end when was it, who does he say it to? I think to Charlotte. He says the justice says, like the law is ink on paper, written by rich men. That so that was a great scene that he kind of came to that realization, and he was like, if there's going to be any justice, then I'm going to have to take it into my own hands. And he did what he could to kind of like fake the funk and like pretend like it happened, but also do the right thing, like what Mrs. Scanwell said to him, like a bad deed done in with good intention is not a sin, or something like that. So that kind of goes both ways. Like she was meaning it in the sense of, you're going to have to go kill Margaret, and he really didn't want to, but really he could twist it and turn it into, I'm not going to kill her and I'm going to save her, and it might not be justifiable in the eyes of the law, but it's the right thing to do because the people making the law are just a bunch of fucking assholes that are going to like fire you 1 second and then make you go and execute someone the next, with, it's just, yeah, I think he did the right thing. But Margaret's having a rough time with it because she doesn't want to leave her family. So. Like she was really devastated about that. She would have rather been killed than have to leave her family like that. So.
Yeah. And also the journey from England to America is like not always the best one too, because it's a long journey.
It's dangerous. You could get sick. Your boat could sink. It's anything could happen to her.
Yeah,
but yeah, would you rather die? I don't know. It's a tough decision.
That brings that brings the question of morality into it almost. It's like, or that life question. It's like, would you rather die, or would you rather be banished with the potential of dying? Yeah, I don't know. We never find out what happened.
Well, there's no guarantee.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to mention that there's also no guarantee of your safety. Like if you do make it from point A to point B,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know. Like she doesn't have any money or anything. Like
she's
got her dress that she's wearing, and that's about it.
He didn't send her. It's not like when Violet was getting sent to America, she was going to have to serve hard labor or something like that. He didn't. That wasn't what Margaret's sentence is. Her sentence is, I'm going to ship your ass to America and then you fucking figure it out from there. So,
right?
You know, she's got one skill. We know that. So,
yeah.
Johnny said that the show taught him something. I'll let you read it in the chat. So that's all I'm saying.
Where is it?
That was a very, we really got like the wiki how this episode.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think they've been, this show, man. Bye, Sasuke. Yes, we will see Alfie Allen in season 3 of Harlots. Spoiler alert.
Yes.
Well, Johnny did it. Like Johnny used Alfie Allen's face as an avatar at one point in our watch of this show, so don't worry about it. It's all right.
I love season 3. It's really good. I'm so excited to get to it.
Yeah, well, it was. Oh, and then I think the last question that I had for episode 7 was the plan, or Isabella and Charlotte's plan, worth it in the end? Like, obviously not, because shit happens in this episode, but it's like the idea of putting things into action that didn't obviously pan out very well. I mean, kind of.
It was kind of interesting to watch those two, the dynamics of those two play out, because, we start out the episode where they had just, sorry. Sorry. My phone shut off for a second. So they start the episode out that they are like lovers, they're just friends. She said friendship comes in many forms. And so they have just like an interesting dynamic, because there's not the romantic element. It's more of like a, best friendship kind of thing, which is like, you see that sort of contrasted with Nancy and Margaret. It's not something that's touched on often, like female friendships, I guess, but they're really there for each other, and it's interesting because they go straight to help each other, like when in their time of need. When whatever happens with Margaret, Charlotte goes straight to Isabella to try and get help, and whatever happens with Isabella's daughter, she goes straight to Charlotte to try and get help, and they're able to help each other. So it's interesting to watch it all play out. It's very like busy and stuff, but they're lucky to have each other.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's special. She sucked the venom from me and I tasted it on her lips.
Now everybody's talking about Theon in the chat, and then Johnny says, like everybody, who said
justice for Mary Cooper.
Justice kill Theon immediately for Mary Cooper. Yeah, or that is Bay or whatever. Yeah, Theon. Theon. I feel like obviously this, with the addition of Alfie Allen's character, it'll be like what season 1/season 2 version of Theon, where it's just like, I don't care, like with all of the women in the show, because he was all with rods and all that, but or because then the rest of that, like season 3 onward, he was just like Reek, then Theon, but anyway.
Theon Greyjoy is a good man. All right, don't argue with me. It's true. Theon would die for you.
He did die for Bran, so
but he'll die for you, man. He would die for Sansa, I bet you.
Yep. the Theosia or whatever fans out there, you know. And plus,
I ship it.
plus a lot of people. I saw it on wait, this is slightly veering into Game of Thrones for a second, but everybody was like, why is Sansa crying? Like for Theon, she never cried for anybody else. It's like
because she loved him. That was her
yeah,
man.
It's like she cried for her brother, like because she didn't cry for Rickon. It's like she barely knew Rickon. He was like 6 when she
didn't have time to cry for Rickon.
Theon saved her from Ramsay.
Like, come on.
Theon went through some shit together. That's her fucking boy.
Yeah.
Like, he rescued her.
Yeah, I'm like, we'll talk about this if we do our ships stream that we do. But yeah, we can talk about that.
Ship stream.
Yeah, but yeah,
we're a up ship stream without a paddle.
Yeah, or take a paddle. Just like it's like whichever ship can like sail the longest. That's the one that wins. I don't know. Maybe being funny. Theon.
Your boat float on shit. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know
but yeah, we get the whole thing. But yeah, we can talk about Theon on this show on Harlots next week because I think he's probably gonna show up, in the beginning episodes of the show. I'm assuming. But yeah, we get into episode 8 where it's basically a lot of Lord Fallon and Lucy stuff, and Lucy coming to the realization of, well, shit, my mother's dead and my lover / keeper is a killer, and he's the reason why my mother is dead, effectively. And what do you think about this whole storyline of how Lucy in this episode comes to she doesn't come to the realization. She's told by Mrs. Scanwell that her mother has been hung to death because of what she did. What do you think about that whole beginning plot line of this episode?
One thing we didn't mention last episode, was it the last episode that he also tried to attack Amelia again?
No, this is in episode 8.
Oh, that's this one. Okay. Yeah, because she finds the jacket and it's got blood on it, and that's what leads her to go over to the house and check on Amelia. And it's also the jacket with the missing button. So
it's his murder jacket.
Yeah, it's his murder jacket. Obviously, everybody's got one.
You think
everybody has one, right?
He should have chosen a better color,
like a burgundy, to hide the blood stains. Come on.
Go for a Hugh Hefner look.
He's a man. He can't do outfit coordination.
Obviously. But yeah, so what happens that they try, basically Blaine sends him. He's like, you need to go and finish the job and go finish her.
Before she speaks because she's awake or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, that happens, and then I think while he's gone is when Lucy kind of wakes up from her hangover from whatever smoking opium or drinking too much or whatever. But she basically missed out on all the stuff with Margaret because she was intoxicated, and so when she wakes up, she goes over to check on Amelia, and Mrs. Scanwell tells her just so you know, this happened, because she was just acting perfectly normal, she didn't know that it had happened. And so that's pretty traumatic and pretty sad for her. Could you imagine just waking up and hearing that and just being what? I would want to I'll stab your fucking heart, she said to him.
Yeah. The avenging angel.
Yeah, dude.
I think she needed that, though. She needed that to kind of smack her out of her newlywed puppy love thing that she had going on.
Mm-hmm.
She needed kind of a shock because I don't think if Margaret died, she would have ever really believed that he had done anything.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
And it hits her all at once because, like that scene when he's like, or she says, I think Charlotte tells her to like finish him or whatever, and she's like, my mother died to save my soul. Do you think that I would sully it with yours? Like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've given Cece a life lesson today, and it's to buy burgundy stuff.
You already do, Cece. Isn't that like your football team?
Exactly.
Yeah. We're gonna pretend like we don't know why she needs it. It's fine.
Exactly.
My lips are sealed, girlfriend.
Yeah.
Hashtag broadpod.
You don't squeal on your friends. Snitches get stitches. Don't you remember that? Like a basilisk. He almost got stitches, but that was actually Amelia. Anyway.
Oh, he owes her so big.
Yeah, they have Fallon, he basically wants to smother Amelia to death, and then they have her tied up in the kitchen at Justice Hunt's house. And then she shows up, and Nancy basically has to hold Lucy back, and is like, "Do you want me to sack the avenging angel onto you? Like, come on." Which was kind of funny how she's just like, I can let her go if all you have to do is say something. But right before then, which is a question that I have, is like, Mrs. Scanwell is also a G in this episode.
Yes,
So it's like, it's so funny how she's like touching his face and like poking at his eyes. So
she's the one that like gets caught with him. They're like, well, wow, don't abuse the prisoner, okay? She's like, twice you've tried to fucking kill my child. So what is it? She said the Bible tells us to. I don't remember what she says, but she cuts his ass. She cuts him.
Yeah, it's like don't test this mama. So it's like almost like a thing of like, as a mother bear, you like want to protect her children, especially from this guy who's like wanted to kill your kid twice. Like, I'm watching you. Mrs. Scanwell, we've seen the complete like 180 of her character. First, she's sitting holding baby Kitty like 3 episodes ago, like being like, "Oh, look how sweet and gentle they are." When it's like when they're this small, and now she's like holding Fallon's face, wanting to like be the mountain on him. Feel like,
Gotta watch out for those quiet ones, especially the moms.
They sneak up on you.
Everybody in that room, she was probably the least likely suspect in his mind.
Like the blind lady,
which is
she's
stupid. Yeah, like
the blind preacher lady. Like,
don't mess with mama.
No.
Yeah, that was really.
She might be kind of a kooky old bat, but she does love her daughter.
She really does. It's cute. She's sitting right there. She's like, "Oh, my daughter." When she wakes up, that shit was sweet. Touched my heart. It was nice. Amelia did. She woke up. All right. Spoiler. She woke up.
Right.
Yeah, she wakes up.
Yeah.
And because they're at the Chief Justice Hunt's house, not Chief Justice. He was and because she's engaged to Justice Hunt, so it's like staying there and protection.
Well, then they kind of have an interesting interaction this episode. Yeah, like because he comes to her and he's like, after he gets fired, he has like this kind of weird thing because we know that Mrs. Scanwell got ratted out as far as her past, and he didn't necessarily break off their engagement at that point, but he comes back after he loses his job and uses that as the reason to break off the engagement. And then Amelia is like, oh yeah, right. Well, you heard about my mom, so that's really why. But then later comes back around to where he comes back and he proposes her. He says, I've been a real prig. And yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I will tell you this. Okay, can I spoil something for season 3?
Sure.
This is the last we see. This is the last we see of Amelia. This is the last we see of Mrs. Scanwell, of Amelia, and of Justice Hunt. They're not in season 3.
Like
so
the Frenchie, she disappeared out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's kind of leaves me thinking. That's probably my one complaint about season 3, because I was like kind of enjoying their story at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that's not a spoiler. That's like telling people like that Bran is not in season 5.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. Like,
that's true.
That storyline that is like somewhat interesting and keeps you entertained, but
the once and future king.
It's like his storyline. It's not happening. So it's like one of those things. Yeah. It's so funny. But yeah, that is kind of weird that they leave you on like that kind of cliffhanger for that, because in this they also talk about how he feels disgraced, and Violet is like, oh, like now that I'm like not your servant anymore, like you have to pay me or something like that. And he's like, you could be my eyes and ears in a place like this, and it's just like, huh? But they were kind of like a cute storyline, like even though like the age gap was a little suspect, but they were cute, and they were like the odd couple that you're almost just like, oh, you precious, tap you on the shoulder.
Yeah. They could have made like a fun little quirky, like side couple. That's I don't know. Maybe they'll come back. If we do season 4, I don't know if they're gonna do a season 4.
Apparently, I've looked it up. Like it's up in the air at this point. But as Cece is saying, it's like looking forward to some lesbian drama. Yeah, I know exactly. They could have been like an undercover throuple almost. It's like, yep.
A weird little taboo love triangle with the Christian girl. Yeah, I mean, it was already happening like that. It was set up well, but we can't get too hung up on these things if Game of Thrones has taught us anything.
And hello, apparently human, also known as Catherine Harding. She's in the chat. Go check out Catherine's channel. She's been doing some live streams about video games recently. So yeah, go check out Catherine's channel.
Ooh, nice.
Oh yeah, I think she was doing The Witcher the last time I checked. So Witcher, the third Witcher, or whatever version of The Witcher she had. But yeah, go check that out. But yeah, oh, that's like so sad. Like, not R.I.P., but like R.I.P. for now with the scandal. But speaking of another one, it's basically that we might as well talk about it. It's basically that Lord Fallon has given up the names of the men that have been involved in his like gang, effectively, if you want to call it that. The Spartans.
Yeah.
Blaine.
My old gentleman's club.
Yeah, the creepy club, the creepy club.
I love that when Nancy was like, she's like, don't cut him yet. We got to get the names first. Because like Nancy knows how to interrogate him.
She's been around enough. And plus, it's like her character too. She's like, we got to torture him first because, she likes her whip or whatever. She likes to whip the people that show up. So, man, they basically bring him to her house, and like they string him up on the in the kitchen or something like that. And then they're like, you give us like the names and you sign this what is it, like the document basically saying that what you're saying is true. And then eventually the word gets out that the Marquess of Blaine is going to get blamed for all of this. So he's like, well, I'll let you go, but you gotta die. Basically, is what the situation comes to. It's like, yeah, I'll let you live, but you also gotta die first.
Yeah, they have like a weird, their whole weird club has like this culty. I mean, it's a culty brotherhood kind of thing where, yeah, I guess it's a life or death sort of oath, and
For the watch.
Yeah, exactly. For the watch.
If you gotta stab yourself.
He's an oath breaker, so he yeah, that was it. Gonna call up Ned Stark to come handle some shit.
I know, right?
No, they gave him they basically forced him. He signed a
confession.
Blaine went and got him, and then he signed a confession, or like basically a suicide note was what it essentially was. And then he gave him either hemlock to poison himself or a knife, and he did the old.
Dude, what does he say? He said like, "I'll go out by how I lived" or something like that, or to like just killing people.
Yeah, I'll die the way I lived, or something like that.
Yeah, Johnny.
I think that was more like. Yeah, I think that was just trying to like, kind of prove himself. Like when last time, like poison yourself and die like peacefully, or like, are you gonna,
poison
go
is
out
a
like
woman's
a man,
weapon.
Better term.
Yeah. And honestly, Fallon did need to do that as far as like, because he'd ratted out his boys, and I mean, not to say that they're worthy of covering up, but he had lost all of he lost everything to a woman, so the least he could do is die like a man.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So if this
as well as woman,
Charlotte, but like if this, because this show seems to follow some sort of arc where we've had George Howard be the main villain, if you want to call it that, of season 1, and then dies in season 2, early season 2. So then you've had like Lord Fallon that comes in mid to late season 1, dies in season 2. So it's almost like this pattern of, it's like, well, like, even though you two probably know the answer, it's like, the Justice of Blaine showed up like in the middle of season 2. So then it's like, he's going to probably die at the end of season 3, even though it's probably unlikely because it's too much of a pattern. But who knows? Bye, Amanda. If we see you, we see you. But thank you for stopping.
Bye.
But yeah, we got that whole thing with Lord Fallon, and just stabs himself. And I mean, what is that like? It's like, I mean, goodbye, good riddance. I don't know. At the same time, it's like, like what you said, it's like poison is a woman's weapon. And plus, they would have thought he was like a sissy or something if he took the poison instead of like stab himself. Like, and Cece, how did he know where to stab? You just go for the midsection usually. That'll usually give you the.
I think he stabbed himself in the heart. There's a pretty surefire method of doing that. It's very ritualistic. A lot of like Japanese warriors. I can't think of, Johnny, you probably know the name of it. What's it called? Something SH something. But it's a suicide.
What, like the honor suicide?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it's called either, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually anywhere in your chest area is a place where you're gonna die pretty quickly. You don't just like, I'm just gonna stab my arm. Like, like it will work, but
you'll hit a major artery somewhere in that area in your torso.
Yeah, so you're just gonna
But go for the heart because you want it to be quick if you're fucking stabbing your own self. Fuck.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's some definite mind over matter sort of thing to actually stab yourself like that.
Like also to like do it like yourself. It's like almost just like, yeah. But at that point, it's like, what else you got to live for? And Cece brings up a good question. It's like, where did Fallon's family like come from? Or like, why did nobody like care? Which is true because he is like a lord. So it's like,
yeah. Did he I know, like, when he first brings Lucy home, he's like, treat her as if she were my wife.
Mhm.
Does he actually have a wife? Did they ever mention that?
I think he was a bachelor.
Okay.
That's what I assume, because like he didn't have a wife, so it's like treat her like my wife, because they've never brought up like him having a wife like in dialogue form.
Yeah.
Like they did with George. I think
Yeah.
too, they wanted to make that distinction so it wasn't like a carbon copy of George Howard, where like the wife exists somewhere in the ether of this show. So that like that Lucy gets like a rung above, but like the rung above also doesn't have any
Thank you, Johnny.
strings attached. So
Seppuku.
this is what it is. I'll pull it up. Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you guys seen 47 Ronin?
no.
Oh, I love that movie.
Me too, dude. It's so freaking good.
If it's like an old movie, but like a movie from like before like likely 2010, I have not seen it.
It's probably from around that time. Probably 2012, 2000, like
Maybe
sometime between. Yeah, probably around 2010. It has Keanu Reeves in it. It's really good. You should see it. It's like based on like Japanese legend, and it's fucking good, dude.
Yeah, this that'd be the title, because I'll probably forget by the end of this stream, because we'll talk about so many things.
My son loves that movie. We had that on DVD, and we used to watch 47 Ronin like every day.
But yeah, I'll make sure to watch it among the other
2013.
2013. So I have yeah. Probably, yeah. Oh,
Johnny's our person, our
yeah.
button guy.
The Google search.
Hey, Johnny, you're in charge of our Googling.
Johnny's the button man.
Yeah, he's the professional Googler. You're your brand today, Johnny. Like,
anyways, you know that already.
Yeah, they write out. Yeah, because he takes responsibility for the attempted murder of Amelia and Justice Cunliffe, but he doesn't take the confession for Kitty Carter, because that was somebody else, I believe.
Yeah, that was Lord Ludington, that little punk ass bitch.
Well, yeah, the one who's like kind of great.
He's just like an annoying little punk.
He is very uppity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, sit down.
Yeah. How old are you, son?
Well, he's just not scary like, the Marquis of Blaine. Like, that dude, he's intimidating. Whereas, Lord Ludington is just like, sit down, boy.
Yeah, I find it interesting that they even brought Lord Ludington like into their circle, because he's such kind of I don't want to say like a loose cannon, but like he's so cocky and sure of himself in like his lordly position or whatever, that he
just runs around like a little frat boy.
Yeah, exactly. Like when Lucy came in that one time and he kind of fucked with her and she ended up like pushing him, and then the other time, like, he's been nasty to Fanny a couple times, and then when the Justice came in that one time, like, he's just like a little bitch, Oh, fucking bitch.
It's like, Empress, you kill.
Like, did he die next? Do we have a list, Fake Arya?
I don't even think he dies, actually. I don't even think we get that satisfaction.
Nope.
He might not come back, though. I don't remember if he's in season 3 or not.
Well, they've kind of let some people like fall to the wayside on the show, which is kind of sad. Like Daniel Martin, you never hear from him again. Frenchie, she's gone. Like half of these people like that are coming to a show for a season.
Margaret Wells, who knows? Just kidding. We will. No. We will now. Okay, guys.
And then there's obviously the stuff with Sophia and the Marquettes. And pretty much not that much happens with this. It's just basically just like Lady Isabella's like, well, you'll do this for me, and this for me, and this for me, and this for me, and then I'll never see you again, kind of thing. But that's not going to happen, because she loves her brother too much. And it's like Johnny said earlier, this is the Jamie and Cersei situation, but more or less on like the crazy end of that. But yeah, like I don't know what to think about that part. It's like that I like my brother, even though he did all of these horrible things to me. It's like, what? Can't judge really, because especially if they're like the only two family members that they have.
Yeah. And honestly, if her brother, I think it's not something that's necessarily touched on, but I think she may have a fear of, if she doesn't have a man in her life, she's never been an unkept woman. Like, she's always had either like her father or her brother tending to her. Like, she's had somebody looking over her. So, I mean, not to say she couldn't handle it, but I think she could handle it extremely well. But I think she has probably a fear that if her brother falls from grace, or has such a scandalous removal from society, that could potentially affect her as well. She could lose her high standing and that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's probably like an unspoken concern of hers, especially just because of the culture in that period. Men were so empowered, and that's how she's been kept down, is just by having men be in control of everything. So, yeah.
Man, it's one of those things where you're like, damn it. And we kind of see that with Charles this episode too, where pretty much, like we said, we've talked about before, it's like Charlotte and Charles have this and it's strange that they have very similar names for like their, like Margaret and Lydia gave their children very similar names. It's almost like, wait, hold on a second. Because
that's a good point.
Like, why?
I hadn't thought of that.
That's another thing too that we've kind of briefly touched on, where it's like, I always wondered if Charlotte and Charles have like stories from growing up together, because they've like grown up with these crazy moms. I'm sure they've encountered each other. I'm sure they spent time together, especially when they were like really young. I'm sure that they, I don't know how long Margaret was in that house for, but you would think like probably that time frame that she might have been in Quigley's house with little Charlotte. I don't know. I would love to hear those
Quigley
stories.
talks about Charlotte and Margaret, and how Margaret took Charlotte away from her or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There was at least a little while.
Yeah. She knew Charlotte when she was a little girl, so I would imagine, because Charlotte and Charles seem to be, of a similar age, so you would think that they probably, I don't know, John, you'll probably have to come up with some silly stories for us, like childhood stories from Quigley's brothel from Golden Square.
The Golden Square and the Golden Years or something like that. It's like
little golden books from Golden Square.
Oh my god. Okay, Johnny, get on it.
All right.
Johnny gets to write now. When he's got his free time, he'll start writing some books.
$199.95.
Yeah. Plus $15 shipping. Anyway,
Johnny brings up a good point about Charles.
Yeah, she probably wishes that
Charles
in the chat. That Charles was.
Well, the way she was like trying to groom Charlotte's takeover, like it's kind of a woman's business. So having Charles take over is, like she probably assumes that like he'll be fine if he's the only of her children that can take over, then fine. But I'm sure she would have preferred a girl.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been like it's one of those situations where it's like it's a toss up about it, and plus we all know that Charles is not going to do well with trying to handle Golden Square because he's a bumbling fool, like we've come to know this character. But
He's
yeah,
too lazy to run anything.
yeah, and kind of with this whole sequence, we have Charles find out from Charlotte that his mother is responsible for the death of Margaret Wells, and basically they decide, well, we'll put her in Bedlam. Is basically what Charles decides, and that's not a good idea. Like put a
Yeah, they all wanted to kill her, but Charles couldn't do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, once he heard, I think, once Charlotte basically said that that Lydia she basically signed the death warrant for Margaret. She's like, your mom is the reason that my mom is dead right now. So, and this is before they, know otherwise. But yeah, she's that kind of, for some reason, that seemed to be the thing that really stuck for Charles. Like that was what helped make his decision, which is again interesting when you think about like the dynamics of those women, those mothers, and those children. So I wonder if Charles maybe had some experiences with Margaret when he was a kid, that maybe that was like a more of a crossing the line for him.
Yeah, because we have to also remember the age gap between Charlotte and Lucy, because I don't think it's very big, but
yeah, it's probably seems like maybe like 5 or 7 years or something like that. Probably 5 years.
I was guessing something like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they would have had stories of Lucy as like a little kid. At least Lydia probably would have, but there's not that many stories related to her, so who knows.
That's what it kind of seems like. Yeah, like maybe when Charlotte was really young, she was still working with, working for Lydia and working around there. And then by the time she had Lucy or got pregnant with Lucy, maybe that was when she did her exit.
Yeah, it's like I can imagine though quickly. It's like I can handle 1, but not 2 from you or whatever. Like one of those.
Yeah, or maybe Lydia was like starting to eyeball Charlotte as a potential future, or even just eyeballing her too much as like her own. Like they have some weird. It's kind of weird, and you see it a little bit more in this episode too, because when Lydia hears that Margaret is, when she hears she confessed to the crime or whatever, she almost seems, she is sad, or like, and then when she dies, they like do a toast to her and stuff. They have, even though they hate each other, they love each other. That's the closest to like a maternal, person that Margaret has, unfortunately. And then I think Lydia, really probably saw her as a daughter when she was young. I mean, you couldn't really turn her out when she's like 10 years old. She probably had to wait a few years. So there's probably some, tenderness there between them. And that's a huge part of like the hatred, like a crazy love-hate relationship. So I don't know. Lydia's there.
Bye, Johnny. Feel better. And
Aww. Bye, Johnny. Yeah. We'll miss you.
You and your sarcasm in the chat will be very missed. But yeah, there's like that whole it's also a fantastic show. Well, we try. This is what we try to do. But yeah, the whole dynamic between those two is quite interesting, because it's just like the whole that like he's just so timid, and even he's like just like doesn't want to be yelled at by anybody, but especially to Charlotte. He's just like, all right. Like he even like pushes her in a room, and then when like Lydia's like banging on the door, like, you're such a bad son, and all these other things that she's like saying, like, you're so evil and all of this stuff. Like, it's just funny how, and then it immediately switches on. Where she's like, "I'm so sorry." It's like, isn't that like manic? It's like Lydia's a little bit manic, where she's like, "I hate you, you die," blah blah, and then it's just like, "Wait, I didn't mean it." It's like, well, personality switches quite quickly in this. Let's see.
Yeah, Lydia's she's going through a time. She should have just shut up and like taken it. I mean, how many people has she locked in the room and like made them write it out? She should have just been like, ugh, he'll let me out eventually. She's like, you know, she's got to know he's not as hard as she is. Yeah, he's not as hard as she is. So like anyone that's locking her in the room is most likely going to let her out sooner than she would have ever let anyone out. So.
But like Anne probably, she would have been like, all right, I'll do it, like before she like runs off, you know, where she ends up in this episode.
She tells her, she's like, Anne, go get the Marquess of Blaine. And then the Marquess is like, I don't give a flying F about that. I don't care if she's locked up. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's interesting.
She's just a loose end for him, so she's disposable.
Mm-hmm. True. Anne comes back into play. She becomes more of a player in season 3, so that's interesting.
Yeah. That one, she's just annoying. One of
she's just like a little goody, you know. She's just like got her nose so far up Lydia's butt, thinking it's gonna get her somewhere. But
right.
I forgot to bring up these questions that I had written from when we were talking about Fallon, but it's like, wasn't it kind of satisfying to watch him be like taken over by these women that are like, you have to tell us what we're doing right now and all of this stuff, and he's just like, no. But like then eventually he like once he kind of sees that Lucy's in the room, he like it's just like breaks him. Almost, it's one of those things. It's like, what do you think about that part? I forgot to ask about that. When I crafted questions.
You could see that they had a connection. You know, Fallon, he truly had feelings for Lucy. Even though he's a twisted guy, they had a hot romance, you know, and Cece, we're starting. Yeah, exactly. Like they had, it was good for Lucy, you know, she needed that. Even though it went pretty bad, it was what it was. She needed that to kind of snap her out of it and to also bring her some perspective on her family, her life, her profession, on all of it. It really made her grow up real quick, you know, when she thought that her mom had sacrificed herself for, you know, so that her daughter, you know, for her, essentially. If you find something out like that and then that person is dead and you can't even thank them or, you know, do anything, like it probably would really flip a switch for you real quick. And then to find the person that prevented you from, you know, seeing the full picture, yeah, you'd probably want to stab that fucking hot. So, I'm sorry, I love that line. That's like one of my favorites. So yeah.
Yeah, well, he in a sense stabbed her heart because it's like her mother died because of him, basically. It's like, and yeah. I kind of miss Lord Fallon in a weird way in this show. Like George Howard, he was fun because, you know, Pineapple of Great Britain and all that. But, you know,
really
like Lord.
Easy to hate.
I know, exactly. Like he's one of those people you're just like, it was so intriguing, that character, and then now it's just like, oh well, now he's dead and gone. So
yeah, it is kind of a bummer. I would rather have had like the Marquess die.
You know,
because like Lord Fallon, he would have been an interesting like ally kind of for them to have, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
He could have been.
I guess it was kind of necessary for him to die, but Lucy's catalyst. You know, it was her like her growth opportunity, I guess. I don't know.
Now 2 people that have like significant characters that we've seen Lucy with that are men have both died. So by stabbing too. So basically, or the effects
She's
of
getting to be
stabbing.
kind of a Black Widow.
Yeah.
Oh, Lucy. She's
Oh
fun.
man. Oh, Lucy. Yeah. Well, she's growing up, and you know we're not going to talk about Harriet because you know what's the point? That whole thing is just, as Donnie would say, why do we even talk this?
She
'Cause
did
Donnie-
all right. You know, I appreciated Harriet's being there for Mr. North.
Mhm.
He needed it. He couldn't go somewhere.
Yeah, she did run around with him and try and help him.
And you know, she wasn't gonna she's like, you need me. Like any man in that situation would probably do the same thing. Just be like, no, I'm no fit company. Just like he said, I'm no fit company to be around right now. But that doesn't matter. You still need somebody to help you. So I'm gonna do it. Even if I have to walk 3 feet
she wasn't trying to pull anything over on him or anything.
Yeah.
Especially too with
like she was being genuinely nice.
Yeah, when she was like, you did the greatest service for me one time, so now I'm gonna return the favor because you need it, and they have a good friendship that way.
Yeah, because you know Mr. North can't carry a dead body, like however far he has to bring her, like kind of thing, like or at least carry her enough for that. See, I'm not Slytherin. I've taken Pottermore 3 times. I come out as Ravenclaw, so I'm Luna Lovegood or whatever.
Cece, what do you mean Lucy Rohan Weber?
I don't know.
I don't either. I'm confused. I love Rohan Weber though. Oh, the spider. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm with you now, girl. Okay.
Ravenclaw. Yeah. On Pottermore, I've been
Totally.
named Ravenclaw. So I'm like, which I actually don't mind. I'm like,
That's not a bad house.
John St. Baptiste is a Slytherin. I know that.
That makes sense. I think I'm a Slytherin. I think when I took the thing, I was a Slytherin.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I don't mind. Somebody's got to be a Slytherin, right?
Well, everybody just doesn't like Slytherin because that's where Draco and the Malfoys are from, you know. But that's also where Snape's from too. Like again,
is that where is Narcissa Malfoy? Is she a Slytherin?
I want to say so. Yeah, because that's
I'm like 99.9% sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I could
she
see
does some good
Narcissa.
shit. So yeah, I like her. She's a great character.
Yeah. Well, Bellatrix is from Slytherin. There's so many people from Slytherin. I'm just trying to remember. Amanda says that she's from Gryffindor. I can see that, Amanda.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Or
Tonks
Hufflepuff.
is my girl.
Or there's always Hufflepuff, you know, that house where not many people talk about poor Hufflepuff.
Hi.
Poor Hufflepuff.
That's okay. Hufflepuffs are used to being ignored.
Oh, yeah. It's like poor Hufflepuffs. Yeah, not many people talk about House Hufflepuff. But it's like a bumblebee
Hufflepuffs have tonks, though.
Yeah, bumblebee colors for Hufflepuff. Everybody else is just like, yeah, whatever. But
yeah, we could have better colors.
Yeah, it's like, so I love the puffs. They're cute. Well, wasn't what's his face from? Oh god damn it! Why can't I think of it? The Robert Pattinson's character, whatever his name was.
Oh, Cedric.
Yeah, he was Hufflepuff, I believe. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Cedric.
Cedric Diggory. There we go. Because I was like, what is this? But anyway.
Which movie is it that does that scene? Or which movie is it that has Cedric in it?
Goblet of Fire. So I think it's
number
5.
4?
Okay.
4 or 5. I can't remember because they split the last movie into 2 movies. The last book into 2 movies.
The last one's real.
Yeah.
Those last 2, those are really good. I've only read the first Harry Potter book when it very first came out, and I was like 14 or 15 years old, and then I've only watched the movies one time, like all of the movies. I think I've watched the Deathly Hallows I think I've watched that one like 3 times or something, but
Yeah. Well, part 1 is kind of like, well, because it's like mostly them walking through the forests and stuff. Like part 1.
That's why I liked it. It was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then like, isn't that when Ron gets his arm all messed up and stuff?
Well, yeah, he
Yeah.
and then he like leaves like halfway through the journey and all of that.
Splinched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not so well versed on my Harry Potter stuff, guys.
Johnny, did someone say rod gobbling fire? Johnny. But
no, we're not talking about Melisandre here.
No. But yeah, like with I think my favorite movie is probably Goblet of Fire because it's so like expansive of the world, but also part 1 of Deathly Hallows is kind of sweet too, and the last movie because you find out about Snape and all that fun stuff, but also sad stuff too. But we can talk about that We can talk about that in a minute.
We're off topic.
When we need to have a Harry Potter stream as well.
There we go. We'll talk about that too. I have one more question, really. Blanket is like, obviously Sophia was taken away from Isabella at the hands of Quigley, and why does this woman have such ways with like being persuasive? Like we all know that she's good at her craft, but why would you believe such an old woman like who's like known for being a brothel owner basically? Like trust this woman, and it's just like, all right, like come on, like what? Like you think that people would smarten up, but clearly a lot of people aren't that smart.
No, I think she's charming enough and in a good enough position that she can kind of, use that to her advantage. Whereas the other women aren't on like that high class level, so it's more of a struggle for them. And also I think Lydia, even when she is in the position of being like questioned or anything, like she's still got an in with really powerful people, and that is enough to keep her afloat, between like her new relationship with Justice, the Lord Chief Justice, and the Spartan guys. She's in a pretty comfortable position, which is why it's interesting when she ends up, how this all finished up and her ending up in Bedlam, because really right now she's in her eyes, she believes that she's in a top dog position. That's why she sends Anne. She's like, go get the Marquess, and he's just like, I don't care. Especially after Fallon dies, he's got to clean that slate and get her kind of out of the picture. I don't know, or just kind of do a little bit of rearranging of things, because now too many people know too many things with Fallon and stuff.
Yeah, he's got to get the loose ends out of the way.
Yeah.
Or as Cece calls her, Lady Varys. Well, yeah. Well, Varys is like in the show isn't as like maniacal as the one in the books. Like Varys is just Varys in the books is much different than Varys in the show. Kind of like how Tyrion is different in the books than he is in the show, because they loved Peter Dinklage, so they wrote his character a little differently in the show for that one. Yeah, I think. Yeah, but basically at the end, we see how everybody's just kind of wrapping up the storyline for the season that we have. Greek Street is now back, I guess, together. Like Mr. Norse handling the door, but Lucy's like not Lucy's with all the girls again and everything. Like they're kind of leading you to believe that this show is going to move on without Margaret Wells, but that's not going to happen because she's like, this story is about her, and her journey. So it's like, they can leave her out for a couple of episodes, but she's coming back. Like, come on.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I liked how they left that. Like Charlotte really well. So once Mr. North finds out that she's not dead, and then he goes home and tells the family, and they're all like, "Well, she can't come back here, so she is still kind of dead to us." I mean, we have like the gratification of knowing that she's not actually dead, but really. But Mr. North knows. He knows his wife, He's like, she can handle herself. If anyone can handle themselves, it's Margaret. So there's, they got to just cross their fingers for her and hope for the best, and then just try and let life go on as usual and keep things functioning. And I loved that last scene with Charlotte. She's like, stops and kind of looks over her shoulder, and her boobies are all extra, and she's just she's really looking like it's sort of a young version of her mom, and it's great. So
Yeah,
it was a cute way to end the season.
There's some times with the costuming that I'm like, how can you literally go so close, like on the costumes without exposing nipple? Like, come on,
dude.
Like,
Margaret especially.
yeah, it's like
Got them.
those corsets have to be so tight to keep those things contained. Holy God.
like cut off
I don't know.
circulation.
Yeah.
Almost. It's like,
Well, that's the thing too. It's like they don't have under support, so really you gotta just mash them down and hold them in place, because otherwise, like, what are you gonna do? You don't have sports bras back then, so
or underwire, yeah, just like,
smash them in. I don't know.
Yeah, like,
All right. Once everything's like smashed in there, it's not too bad. Other than like breathing.
It's just getting everything in there.
Yeah, that's the biggest struggle, is just getting it all in there. Then once it's in there, it's in there. It's not going anywhere.
Bye, Amanda. No problem. You also stay very awesome too, because you keep going. Keep your head up high and hope everything's going well with you. But
Bye, Amanda.
Bye, Amanda.
Yeah, the
right people, I guess.
Yeah. The mistress of whispers. Yes, that is Lynn quickly. It's like, you have a secret? I'll find out about it. Yeah, the costuming in this show. I don't think we really talked about it in season when we were talking about season 1. But the costuming that they have for this show, I would assume it's pretty historically accurate. They sometimes take, because shows sometimes take creative liberties, but I would assume that it's pretty on par. It's not like they're like
some of it like
there.
colors and stuff like that, like a lot with like Emily Lacey's dresses and stuff. I'm like, that seems like a pretty modern fabric, but and a pretty modern
all the flashy colors.
Yeah, but I love their dresses. They do a great job on the costumes, and just for all of them. I mean, even Mr. North, the men's costumes, everybody's costumes are fantastic on this show. I love it.
And the wigs.
Mm-hmm.
The powdered wigs.
Those powder wigs.
One of my favorite little details about the wigs is with like Lydia, and even with Cherry when she gets dressed up all in her, powdered and all. You see kind of that tiny space on the front of the wig where you can still kind of see their hair underneath it. But I don't know, for some reason I just like that. It seems like it's a perfect little detail that creates the look of imperfection, but which kind of brings you more into the time period. They didn't have perfect wigs like we see with the mesh things and the fucking, you know, like the girls wear
Lace
these
front,
wigs.
yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they did not have wigs like that. Those things were like, you know, you're probably going to see a little space. They didn't have a ton of bobby pins that they're going to do in your hair and that kind of thing. And your hair underneath is probably going to be like pretty gross anyways, because you're not getting to wash your hair every freaking day.
And the circulation of also the wig being on your head and sweating.
Yeah, sweating. There's no AC.
Yeah.
You're banging a bunch of dudes and like, it's like
I
old
mean,
Chief Justice Dodds comes through. I don't know. You got to ride like a stallion.
Ugh.
Your wig's getting loose.
it's like taking all loose. Yeah,
Oh
like,
my gosh.
yeah, I feel like they do very well with like the hair. Like even like what we see later of Quigley is like when she barely has any hair under her wigs.
Mhm.
Compared to other TV shows when it comes to hair. Cough, Daenerys' hair, which actually has like two heads of hair, not actually like your hair can't actually logistically be like that, like in real life. Like no one has
Also,
she does.
yeah, and you're gonna like make sure and take us on a epic dragon flight that shows you how like intense and crazy it is. But when Daenerys gets off, that hair's perfect as hell.
Like nope. It's like that's not how it works.
I can't even ride in the car with the windows up without my hair getting messed up.
So it's like one of those things where you're like, no. But sometimes they do the hair right, like with Kit Harington. They made him grow out his hair from the original pilot to the reshot pilot, which was like 6 months or something like that. So like sometimes they do the hair right, but then sometimes it's just bad. But and anyway, before we go off on another form of a tangent, what do you kind of rate these 2 episodes and the season, as well as final thoughts for season 2 of Harlots?
I'm gonna give them, you know, I'll give them straight up 10s, like 10. Hold on, a 10. Queen of Spain miniatures. Yeah, because I mean they were great episodes. It was really action packed. Everybody had a lot of exciting stuff going on, and there was just a lot of like unexpected twists and that kind of thing going on. And you know, Margaret really left us with a cliffhanger. So I think that, you know, I'm fully satisfied with it. I'll give her a 10.
Kaci?
Yeah, I don't think these episodes left me wanting anything. They were really emotional and really, really heavy, but you still had some relief in there. So let's see. What can we think of? I think I'm with Erin. I think we've got to give them, let's see, 10 what? 10 hangman's nooses. We'll get morbid. It's fine.
Oh, Peter Griffin. It's okay. He said he had to look up what topping was. It's okay. Yeah, I think these 2 episodes really get a 10 because of what happens in these 2 episodes. We get, obviously, one of our main characters dying but surviving, and you get someone getting killed. So I would give this 10 Fallon fallouts, because it's like the fallout of what's going to happen with the reveal of what happens with Fallon not fallen. Jesus.
Fallon. Wait, I don't know what I'm
saying.
Fallon
or whatever. I'm falling very far. A lot of anyway. Johnny gives this episode 10 autoerotic asphyxiations.
That's the rest of Johnny's night.
He's just be like, "Yep." Oh Jesus. Anyway, yeah, we got. Yeah, I think season 2 overall, it was. What's going on with my hair? Season 2 overall was one of those. It was a step up from season 1, and we really got to learn more about the characters, get introduced to some new ones, and leave some old ones behind if that's like anything. But it'll be so. I know this is probably asking for a spoiler, but it's like if Rasilisk shows up in season 3, then that would mean it's like technically still a Game of Thrones crossover.
This is true.
Okay, did I lose you guys?
Illusiana.
Oh. We hear you. All right.
No. Oh, good. Okay. Sorry, my internet crashed.
Oh no, that happened. Oh yeah, Miss Cece says that 10 for Fallon #Fifi because that's now her ship name with Lord Fallon. We were just right in the chat.
I don't want to tell you guys what a Fifi is a prison term for, all right? But it's something. Look it up.
That again, just Google it. But
yeah.
All hail the Google.
But yeah, I think well, we've been here for long enough. But I know we talked about this last week, and I know you two have been very busy ladies. But do you have anything that you've got going on that you want to tell people about? What you got going on whatever form of social media you want people to stalk you from? Yes, I'm taking Johnny's line from him. Right.
Well, I am still working. I started working on some stuff for Cursed, so I'm trying to get a bunch of content together for that. So working on some stuff for that for you guys, and I've just been doing a lot of stuff in my personal life, so I haven't had a bunch of time to do things. But anyways, go check out my channel if you have time and you want to. And keep an eye out, and I'll do some stuff on Curse. But Kaci, I was going to ask you something about yours.
Yes.
No pressure. But I was just wondering if you were going to do any more content on Dracula.
I thought about doing some individual episode breakdowns. I don't think I will, but The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Season 3 is coming out this weekend, so I am going to have episode breakdowns for that.
Nice.
Very nice. I have to catch up on that show. It's one of the many shows that I have to watch.
Yeah. I haven't watched that one either, but Johnny said it was good. I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I just got done binging Westworld, so now I have a weekend to binge Sabrina.
Westworld. I'm on my rewatch of that right now. It's like, it's the
I need
show.
to rewatch it.
Yeah, it's the
It
show.
fucked with my head so bad.
It's so good. I forgot how good Westworld actually is. Like, because we've been in such a bubble with other TV shows that I
Right.
put Westworld to the back burner, but it's so good. Yeah, but
I've had people trying to get me to watch it for like a year now, and I refuse because I'm actually terrified of the idea of AI bots.
Me too, dude. I'm not into it.
Right?
No, down with the robots. I'm not feeling it.
It is really good, though.
Yeah, that show. Oh my gosh, we covered it on Johnny's channel for a while, and it was or Johnny has a couple of videos on it, and it's really good. If you haven't watched Westworld, go watch it. New season comes out March 15th. And hey, why don't I just announce it? I'm gonna put it on say it, I guess. We'll be covering Westworld starting after we finish this. So we'll be doing a season 1 recap because we have enough weeks where do season 1 like best moments of Westworld season 2, same thing, and then the week before, or like a couple of days before, be like predictions for season 3. And I know Johnny has had a really good video that was, I think it was one of Peter Griffin's comments about what's going to happen in season 3 a while ago. So it's really cool.
Nice.
So yeah, well, Westworld is going to come back because, we don't do Westworld because, Westworld's awesome. But before we go again, we may, in the near future, aka this weekend or next weekend, do the the ships live stream that we've been talking about. Like, what's your favorite ship? Blah, blah, blah. Of TV show like Game of Thrones as an example. And then Derriere debates will probably come back the weekend or so after that, or February, month of love, month of butts. I don't know.
There we go.
Round bottom.
But month of love.
Exactly.
But love.
Carry on with those because we kind of stopped them, so just kind of go back to it. But yeah, other than that, you gotta shout out to the patrons of the channel. We got Catherine Harding, Dark Mother, Nancy T, Katrin C, and the podcast.com family of podcasts. Go check out the podcast family because they cover Harry Potter, which we talked about today, among many other things. So yeah, it has been a wild ride with season 2. Can't wait for season 3, because especially when Theon Greyjoy shows up on the scene. So yeah, it'll be some good fun times. Thank you both to Erin and Kaci for joining us, as well as Johnny. Johnny has been here as well, but life and circumstances of it. So Cece, I live in the Great White North, known as Canada. Like I actually am Sansa Stark. I live in the North, as a joke. But yeah, we'll yeah, it's been fun. I can't wait for season 3 because we only got like 4-ish more weeks of Harlots left, so we got a petition now for the show to come back. So
for real,
exactly. But we will see you either sometime this week, or we'll see you weekend, or we will see you next week to talk about season 3 of Harlots, episodes 1 and 2. Bye everybody.
Bye.
Oh wait, no, and we all know who's in the chat anyway. But